Oh, wait. 5, 3. Grrt. Tall Guinness. Oh, you go over here. I never remember or know what it is I'm doing. I'll mute that for reasons when it's just me. And do I could do I could do I could do I could do Vineyard. Mm-hmm. Mm. No, that's not quite right. I'm trying to find all of the all of the beers that I found thus far. This one had, yeah, that one had a description on it. So then it's just the great. Oh boy. Bit more. And you work, do work, do work, do work, do. Orange. I don't think it's the bastard version. Just ask Rob. We'll see. We shall see. Regardless, it's 8. It's 8:05. I'm slightly late, but it doesn't matter. I'm Ross. I have no Ian, and completely flying in the face of lacking any kind of dry January, I am attempting to drink Nova Scotia Dry. I'm not starting with. I'm having some, doing some beers, having some wheat beers. Sometimes we usually have these conversations at the beginning of the day or the day before. We often say, "Hey, what do we drink tomorrow?" And I try to diversify it up, mix it up, keep it mixed up, keep everyone guessing. Try some different things all of the time. And so this time we're going for some wheat beers because I don't think we've had a wheat beer in a very very long time. And I've got some because also they've been in the closet for a little while. Certainly the Garrison team up with the Grande winery has been in there since the summer. I got that while I was wandering around some different wineries. But on the lower scale of the alcohol percentage, we've got 4.3% is the Full Moon from North Brewing. North Brewing wheat beer says a light beer at a 4.3%. So take that, Ian. I don't have, for some reason, I keep thinking that I've got a North Brewing glass. I got to go find one. So I'm using my Sac Vegas beer brew company, established 2023 down in Sackville. Tapestry beer by 833 Sackville Drive. I need to get this right. No, wait. Tapestry 833. Yeah. For some reason, I always think it's 813, and then I second guess myself, and then I re guess myself, and then I get it right, and I've got it right. Now, on the can, this beautiful, like, I love that. The full moon. I love, these are some of my favorite colors. This smoky blue and a little bit of a fade from the dark down to the golden at the bottom of the can. So that's the background, and then this golden etching, sort of inked on. So it's pretty much just two colors. So it's this background of fading blue down to gold at the bottom, then everything just in the gold writing. There's some moons, very what's the style I'm thinking of? The sun and moon and stars. It was on everything in the 90s. 90s style of gold on navy blue, sun, stars, moon. Let's try this. Vintage 90s Celestial Sun Whimsigoth Navy. What? Moon and Stars. So Celestial 90s Celestial. All right. I will totally give you that. Celestial Sun Moon Stars 90s inspired. I'm so glad it's 90s because I get to talk about the 90s some more. Ingredients: water, malt, hops, and yeast. It has like 5 different showings of where the beer is on your glass. North Brewing out of Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. I've been to their location. They got a little tasting room just along in near Timberley. It's off of exit 3. No, yeah, 3 on the 103. That's where I stopped in and got some cool cans, but I wasn't collecting the glasses at the time. But you know what? I'm going down that way this weekend. I'm going to go buy a North Brewing glass because I'm sick of not having a North beer in a North glass. But it does not have any kind of description, so I had to go to the North Brewing site, and it does say on the Full Moon Wheat Beer is what it says, even though it just says light wheat beer, light beer. So, well, there you go. It must be the same. A classic Belgian wheat beer brewed with a lot of wheat and fermented with a wheat beer yeast to give the beer the soft, pillowy body and notes of banana, clove, and black pepper. I thought, is wheat beer the banana clove one? I thought that was Pilsner's. Is it going to be a banana clove night? It might just very well be. Yeah. It doesn't smell like anything other than, what you'd expect a beer to smell like. It's beery smelling. Certainly getting a delightful head off of it, trying to get into this glass. I should be able to get most of it in here, and I'm hoping if I can get the whole thing, because right now it's pretty transparent. Look at that. Oh, I'm so excited and happy about this glass. Look, it's the little, well, I'm going to say it, nipple at the bottom. That's where all the carbonation is coming, and you can watch this carbonated tornado wisping up the middle. That's really cool. I dare say, Ian Smith, you have procured some cool glasses for yourself. I love cool glass shapes. I just want that. I want cool glass shapes. I want all kinds of different shapes. I'm a little sad when I can just get the stock pub glass. I call them the triangles. They start wide at the top and come down the bottom. This one needs a good wiping. That's my old biddies one because I don't have a Great Roads one either. So, number of places I need to stop and buy glassware because I was making a bit of room on my glass shelf today and I can actually move things around again. So we need to fill that right back up. I think I was saying that I want to get the entirety of the can in there because then I'm hoping that there we go. It's starting to cloud up a little bit there. Can you still see the tornado? Oh, there's the tornado. That is so cool. I am, of course, here in the North Brewing location. I'm unclear if this is the Dartmouth location. I don't think it's the one that I was in the Timberley location. Timberley-ish. Honestly, let's, we can answer this pretty easily by going over to home deliveries Tuesday through Sunday. See, I could just get these things. Taproom group bookings menu something. Battery beer bar. Okay, so North Brewing Tap Room, Portland Street. Oh, so it's really close to where Brightwood was. Battery Beer Bar, Ochterlony. Fair. Retail shop, Timberley Village. That's the one that I go past. My family lives really close. In fact, one of my family members is on Ochterlony, and the other one is on Portland Street. So I have no excuses for not having one of these, other than the fact that when we go visit family, there's just never time for additional stuff, and we try to occasionally do different stuff. We used to try to go to IKEA and whatnot because my daughter loves walking around through there. I love there. It's starting to thicken up a little bit because when it's too pale and see-through, you're not getting. Well, you're certainly not smelling the bananas and the cloves, but you're not getting the bananas and the cloves if it's not in the cloudiness. You're getting the cloud. Which Speaking of my daughter, I wish she was here so she could pronounce the word cloud properly. Cloud. Start the reactor. There's like a bit left. No, okay. I gotta sip this down so I can get the last of the can in there. Then maybe it'll change the flavor slightly. But North Brewing, cheers. Hmm. Cloves, yeah. Not not uncomfortably, but it is because it's a pretty bare bones kind of not much body to it. I mean, it's a very light beer, so a light wit beer like this. But honestly, it's like a lager with personality. It's like a light lager with personality. And I know we're getting the session IPAs. So I guess if you're looking for a lighter ale, usually the three things, usually the things to go for are the lighter lagers. Usually just a light ale, that kind of thing. I like this because it's a light wheat ale, so you're getting a bit of the spice, a bit of the cloves, a bit of the this. Not was there a bit of a sweet of banana in that? I'm tasting the burps now, looking for flavor. That's not a good sign. But the other one is the new session IPAs, and that's sort of if you go into more of a bitter hop forward flavor, if you're looking for that in a lighter ale. And then there's some lighter porters or even stouts, honestly, that come in. I mean, I've got one that I made myself from a kit, and it is super weak. Oh my god, it's so weak. I do not actually know how weak. I just know that it is. I can drink like 3 pints of it in an evening and not feel anything. So it could be as low as three. I'm expecting somewhere between like 3 and 3.8. We didn't calculate it because, long story short, we didn't have 100% of the equipment. Now we've got 100% of the equipment. So the next batch of beer that I make from a kit, which I've got, I will definitely detect the alcohol percentage. And I did try to buy something that was going to be stronger because much though I love my my smoky stout, but it leaves you in not not as not as loquacious and interested in a game of I want to say foosball, but my mind was settling on Parcheesi for some reason. Who would get drunk and play Parcheesi? Me. With the full amount from the can in there, still light body, still yeah, spicy clove up front, smooths, disappears, doesn't stick around, clovey spice remains. What was the other thing? Black pepper. With my imagination in full kick, yeah. But I think it's imagining the same thing as the banana at this point. So imaginative banana and imaginative black pepper. And you really got to hunt for it. And this is not icy cold. So you'd even be getting less flavor if this were served super, super duper cold. But I've had this out of the cold room for a little bit. I think because of that clove taste, and now I'm getting a big wheatiness or breadiness flavor to it, which I often like, but it's nice and it's light and it's easy and it's definitely sessionable. Sessionable's definitely crushable. You can get through one of these, like not even worry about it. So if you like a wheat beer or a Belgian style wit beer taste, so okay, there we go. Now let's start asking our questions. Difference between wit beer and wheat beer. Like, what makes it a Belgian? Wheat beer, wit beer, Hefeweizen. Okay, yeah, I don't even care. An American wheat beer, a wit beer, and a Hefeweizen. United by the fact they're all brewed with a large proportion of wheat, but that's where the similarities end. Wheat beer is any beer where a substantial portion of the grain used is wheat. Okay, average craft is usually made with malted barley, so it's not going to be malt forward, oh, I know what all these is. Yeah, that's exciting. The reason is straightforward. Barley malt is easier to brew with. Oh, okay. So wheat beers are exceptionally hard to brew because the proteins and starch. Blah 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 blah. Science. American wheat beer, often called wheat beer. American versions use clean American yeast. Don't create the heavy clove and banana character of the German ones. Appearance-wise, American wheat beers can range from relatively clear to cloudy. Yeah, all right. Now, this isn't an American one. The next one is. So this is a wit beer. Central Belgium white beer, the Allagash white. Wit beers are always cloudy. I mean, it did get cloudy once I got the whole thing in there. Typically brewed coriander, citrus, mostly the spices. Never over the top, but just have you wondering, what is that? Okay, yeah, it's not over the top, so it is pretty good. Fruity and spicy flavors. I guess I'd like a little bit more of the fruitier style. And then the Hefeweizen is more yeasty flavored. So this one, right in the middle there. Saying it is a wit beer, which on the can it says wheat beer. It doesn't mention Belgian wit beer or anything like that, but I got to go with the explanation that's on the website as opposed to just old kind of nothing going on over there. So wit beer. Citrus and spices act as complementary flavors to the bready, bright wheat notes. Wish I was getting those bready wheat notes. Because I think that would balance this a little bit more. It's not undrinkable. It's just not. The breadiness would allow for more of the malt style that I look for, which is what I like in a wheat beer. Is getting even the breadiness out of the wheat, which you get the breadiness out of the malt to get a malty flavor, is what I like. So obviously I like the breadiness of a wheat beer as well. It's just lacking in that a bit. So perfectly good wheat beer, Belgian wheat beer, rather good, rather tasty. Just not knocking my own personal socks off because I like something to go with a little bit of the spice. Tasty, light, does the thing. I would land. I'm trying to think. I immediately just sort of said, "Oh, that's a 6, like a 6 out of 10." But I think I can go as high as near to 7. But do I go to 7? Do I say 7-1? Or do I say 6.9 out of 10? I'll give you that. Nearly a 7. I want more. I want everything that's happening right here, but I want a little bit more body, a little bit more bready notes, a little bit more wheat, and this fruitiness that they're telling me that I should be getting. I want that. I want that in there as well. But quite nice. Quite nice indeed. And again, I freaking love the can. Look at that. Cool can. Just look up, if you can't see this right now, just look up, what did I say? Celestial 90s sun moon. You'll see it. And if you're listening and we're alive in the 90s, you don't need to look it up. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Speaking of being alive in the 90s, I had a weird message the other day that, okay, here's the aging process. The message was, I was tagged in some post saying, "Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and organize the reunion, the 30th 30-year high school reunion, 30th anniversary. We didn't do a 10, we didn't do a 5, we didn't do a 20, we didn't do a 25." But this is a friend of mine, and he tagged me in the post, and so I think I linked a couple of other people that I'm still in touch with in high school, but 30 years. What gets me, though, is that this coming summer, he said, "Oh yeah, this summer we're gonna do a big thing. It's gonna be great. We're gonna do all sorts of stuff. I'm dedicated to organizing this whole thing." Problem is, and I asked him about this, and he replied very cryptically. But I said, "Isn't this summer the 29th anniversary? Leave it to our graduating class to get it wrong." I think I will leave a little tiny flavor of that down there. Ooh, before moving on, did I say that was a 4.3? I did say it was a 4. I hope I said it was a 4.3. Next, I walked into. No, I didn't. Before I walked into, I saw someone coming out of a winery this past summer with one of these. The Grand Pré says at the very top, but also says Garrison down the side there. Garrison teamed up with Domaine de Grand Pré up here in my neck of the woods with the, let's get our hands all in the right spot, and Vineyard Ale. Does that even show up anywhere? Oh my god, that's really hard to read. Vineyard Ale. It's a very citrusy. It's like a sunspot light focus can, orange with yellow and white writing, so it's very difficult to see. The closest thing at the very top, they finally got the contrast right and put Domaine de Grand Pré on there. Domaine de Grand Pré is one of the oldest wineries in Nova Scotia. They're just definitely one of the two oldest in my county. They started things back up in like the 1990s, but it's on ground that had been previously a winery back in the 1970s. I know all this stuff because I am a tour guide for a winery, so I know a little bit about wineries every now and then. But this is the 355 milliliter can. It is a 4.5%. Says it's a summer wheat ale. So this, we have to judge it a bit more like an American wheat and less like a Belgian style wheat. This brewery and winery corroboration. That's not right. This brewery and winery collaboration. Say things right. Use your words. This brewery and winery collaboration was made for the patio. It's hazy, refreshing, and born of a friendship between two local producers. Cheers. Hazy and refreshing. Well, I'm going to have to judge you based on what the Allagash Brewing Company is telling me about how and what different summer beers, wheat beers, and wheat beers are. Luckily, it's a 355, so it should all delightfully fit in my Garrison glass here. If I had a Domaine de Grand Pré beer glass, I would probably use it. This is like crystal clear. Oh, there we go. There's a bit of the cloudiness down at the bottom. Hazy, you say? That's so pale. Decent smell to it. Hazy. I can Zordon myself through that. Look, you can mostly Zordon me. The head is gone completely already. Look at that. It's just like a pop. This just looks like apple juice now at this point. Which I'm for. That's cool. Like apple juice and Sprite. That could be an interesting drink. Give me 3 of those. And just, at a 4.5% now, we're moving up. So am I expecting a big, strong flavor? It'd be nice, but I guess I'm not actually expecting it. Let's give it a roll. There's the bread. Okay, that's a wheat beer. Oh, and the fruit, the citrusy. It's in the middle. So up front, it's just like a little bit of a fizzy, but oh man, that is wheat beer. It just tastes like wheat beer. Crisp texture. Some examples. So the yeast don't create the thing, or the fruity, spicier character. Clean American yeast. Honestly, this one had more fruit flavor and more wheat flavor than the Belgian style wheat beer. Yeah, that one was pure spice. This one is, well, it's no spice, but it's wheat, and then it's a little bit. I don't quite think it's banana in the middle. I think it's more. It's more of a citrusy thing. Hang on. You get it as you take it in that the first gulp. You know it's there, but you can't quite identify it. All the gulps, everything is just a little bit of a hit. It tastes more carbonated than it looks. That's for sure. It's still very light in the body. So in a 4.5%, you could definitely get through it. pretty quickly. You could session the nonsense off of this, and definitely a patio beer. Jeremy and I, when he's been on the show, he's also a wine guide like myself. He and I were sampling a number of the beers that you could get on tap at the different wineries, and huge appreciation there, especially for myself, because oftentimes when we're bringing trucking people around, I am not the driver of the bus. I am just the guide on the microphone. So I'm the mouthy guy on the microphone. Can you wonder why? But I also get the opportunity to have a beverage at some of the stops. So when we're stopped and we're waiting for the people and the guests to get their guided experience, I don't go on the guided experience. I wander over to the bar and I say, "What's on? What do you got?" And it's nice that I can start finding some beers on tap, because exploring the wines and the samples of wines got a little, I don't want to say samey, but man, there's like 3 or 4 different kinds of wines in my mind. And I've tried all 4 of them, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, but beer continues to astound me for its different. It's just such a resourceful palate. There's so many different flavor sensations and tastes and creations and interesting mixes and whatnot. Wheat beers. You make a beer out of wheat, and there's 3 styles. Depends on what style you're going for. I love it. That is really, really nice. I was not expecting that. So I'm very curious now about this collaboration between Garrison and Grande Winery. One, the Grande Winery is closer to probably 8 wineries than Garrison. Garrison, obviously, the big boys. They're one of the larger producers. They may have just reached out, or maybe I don't know. The winemakers were in town at the Garrison drinking grounds, or maybe everyone just happened to meet up, or maybe they knew each other. Maybe they met at a party. I don't know. Could even be family friends, for all I know. But I do know that the winemaker and the Grand Pré winery is owned by a Swiss family who moved here. Swiss national, Swiss expat. I'm not sure if they're Canadian citizens or not. I know originally they're from Switzerland. Hans Peter and Cecilia, both wonderful people who I've met on several occasions. I didn't tell them that I had their beer, and I haven't had it yet. But that's a thing that I've never understood. It sort of became a bit more prevalent in modern internet times, is telling someone, giving someone news or a statement that doesn't actually contain any substance. Like when you say, "Oh, thanks for giving me that present, that book. I haven't read it yet." That's not really information that you're handing. I mean, you are saying thanks, but like when you see comments on videos and things like that, "This video looks really good. I haven't started it yet." You are not contributing any. I know you think that you're contributing something and you're contributing a small comment, but you're just not contributing anything. So when I saw them, I'm glad I didn't try to say anything like, "Oh, hey, I happened to pick up some of the beer that you collaborated with Garrison on," and then I've got nowhere to go. Have you tried it? Nope. Do I know anything about it? Nope. Is it bright purple? Could it come out completely full of spores? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what I'm in for. I didn't have the information. Now, at least, if they ask me about it again, they said, "Oh, we did a summer beer last year." And I said, "Yes, I finally got around to tasting it, and it was really good. American wheat beer." For what's going on in the current global climate, especially North American, or at least between Canada and the U.S., I'm just might be a good time to get through the American wheat beers. Hope I don't have any other American pale ales in there or anything like that, because then that would start invading my country and annexing things after a 25% tariff. Let's not talk about that. That's insanity. I'm it's depressing. B, I don't know what I'm talking about. So it's just gonna go in a pretty failure direction. As with all American styles, these wheat beers have a more noticeable hop character. Thank you for not having a noticeable hop character. This is delicious. It is just a crisp, light beer with a taste of wheat and a little tiny fraction of some citrus in there as well, like an apricot. No, it's not. It's not even quite an orange. It could be banana. How do I know? Why does it always have to be banana? Is that just what happens when like wheat you try to make something out of wheat, like the sugars break down or the wheat itself breaks down. It leads to a kind of a bready flavor, but then also banana and cloves. That's wild. Should look up a little bit more about the chemistry on that one. Nearly done. But for the sip at the bottom. Moving on. What was it? Ian Smith said when he was on the show 3 weeks ago. He said, "Man, you drink fast." And I'm like, "It's an hour-long show." It's by necessity, not by design. Great Roads Brewing, lots of green on their can here. It has the Orange American. It's popping in at 5.0% alcohol by volume on the side of the can. Do say Orange American. Orange American is a refreshing wheat ale that finishes crisp and clean. The light citrus character comes from the late additions of orange peel, coriander, and Cascade hops. IBU 18. American wheat ale. So, therefore, maybe this one is going to be the one that lends over, that adds that American style hop character. I really like the Garrison one. I think I have to give that like an 8.9, nearly a 9.0. I wish it was a little stronger. 4.5 is it's fine, but I mean, come on, punch it up, Chachki. Wait, can I say that? This is what I got to find out. When most of your references are from the 80s and 90s, especially late night comedy structures, and you don't really you didn't understand that they were racist at the time. Oh, okay, it's Yiddish. Well, there's a conversation. And I'm remembering as I was trying to explain that I was saying that tchotchke is a thing. I don't want to say a term of endearment more so than the derogatory phrase of it, but it's one of the things that my good friend Griff allows himself to get away with saying. So he calls people tchotchkes sometimes. The word tchotchke is spelling variation Yiddish word tchotchke, slang for a small, inexpensive, or ornamental trinket or souvenir. Refer to a promotional item given out at trade shows or conventions. Well, small, cheap, ornamental trinket or souvenir. Okay. In Yiddish, it is also sometimes used as a term for a young girl or a pretty woman. Check out that tchotchke over there. Oh, yeah, she's a hot little ornamental trinket, that one right there. We have gone from racism straight into different racism and slid casually into sexism. That's how it's going. Speaking of racism, I was asked to be in a play by a friend of mine who produces plays in the next town over, and was talking to me about the different characters and things like that. And then I said, I'm not sure I was going to be able to do it, just because the night of the week of the rehearsal. No, it's not Wednesdays, don't worry. But the follow-up was, I've got another play that I want you to be, she wants me to be in, and it's going to be later on in the season. It's going to rehearse on a different night. But you'd have to do, and she said, how is your Jewish accent? And I believe my exact response was offensive. And she said, "Oh no, it's fine. It's just one of those Jewish accents." I'm like, "Yeah, but we have these conversations every now and then where, what accents can you get away with? What peoples can you make fun? Like I try not to do a Newfoundland accent. British, fine. I will do a British accent in the drop of a hat. And I don't know if it's because you can't be. it's okay to be racist to British people because they had an empire. They're in charge of almost the entire planet at one point, and they kind of threw their racism so much around. Doing an East Indian accent, like New Delhi, that I find offensive. I used to love to. Oh, there's so much musicality in that accent, but I don't like to do that one anymore. Jewish slash I'm assuming she's asking for this elderly man, the Yiddish accent, a very who's the guy? Not Carl Reiner. Mel Brooks. A lot of his stereotypical characters, that kind of voice, and I'm like, I don't know how comfortable I would be doing that if it's not my actual voice. She says, "Oh no, you got to do it." I think when I was in a play recently, 4 years ago, and I had to be a priest, an Italian priest. So I had all my lines were in Italian, none of which I can remember like right now, but I can remember some of I had to learn the Latin phrases because I was marrying them in Latin. I was the priest who was marrying people. But I tried to put a lilt, an accent on the Italian that I was saying. So I wasn't just saying, what bad Italian have I got? I've got next to no Italian. But I think it was, at one point I got to say, que pasa? And I was trying to say, how would you say something naturally? So in a character who is speaking the language, I try to speak French with a French accent. So, and I don't find that insulting. In fact, it's the other way around. If you're speaking someone's language, try to roll the R if you have to. If you're trying to speak in Arabic, there's an emphasis on a little bit of a catch on the H's and the cha sound, the cha. And I found that to be very important, especially when you're pronouncing someone's name. Here's taking the story all the way back to its crazy roots, and I'm off on a crazy tangent, is my daughter went to a daycare, and there were a number of families that had moved from lots of places in the world because it's a university town, and they're all here to do their studies. And the kids that she went to daycare with were from all over, and there was this young boy, and his name was Khaled. But all of the daycare teachers, they'd all been introduced to him as Khaled, and they just called him Khaled, like that, with just a well, no, more of a harder Khaled, and that was his name to them. And I heard his parents asking for him at one point, and his name was Khaled, and it was that little bit of the Khaled, and that syllable in the language, and that's a person's name. And I thought, you gotta get someone's name right. You gotta do that right. And I've struggled with that, just getting someone's name right so many times. And the dumbest struggle I think I've ever had was when I met someone, and then I heard she was out with her friends, and her friends were shouting to her and calling her. They were shouting out, "Oh, Esme, come over here, Esme, you gotta come over," because I've met people named Esme, but then one of their other friends was yelling out Esme. It was, "Oh, Esme, come on over here. Oh, Esme, you gotta come and see this. It's really cool." And she walked over to me, and I said, I want to get this right. I want to get your name right. Is your name Esme or Esme? And she looked at me and she said, whatever. And I thought, that's your name. It bugs me when people call me Russ. And I'm like, no, I have to correct you on that one. Pardon me. It's not Russ. It's Ross. You got to get it. Pardon me. You got to get it right. So if your name is Esme and everyone calls you Esme, I'd be all like, get your stupid stuff right. Oh yeah, I did read this one. So we haven't cracked this one yet. I went into a crazy long tangent. That was me trying to, that's walking with my mouth. I'm walking off the two 4.2s there. There's still a sip left. I haven't had too much. Is there hair? Top of this can. The orange American wheat is coming out very clear, so I want to get the whole thing in here. I am using my Old Biddies glass because I don't have a Great Roads one yet. But as we all know, as I did mention that before we went live or after we went live? I don't remember. I'm going to try to get one of those soon, but this is the full 20 ounce, so it should fit the full 473 can. And of course, since it is a Great Road / Old Biddy's recipe. We are getting the foam. Oh, look at that good, delicious, delightful, tasty fall going on in there. Yes, please. So the pronunciation of things, I forget where that exactly started, but that was, I try to make sure that I'm pronouncing something correctly, especially someone's name. I feel like someone's name is important. Oh, that was it, the tchotchke. I just quickly called something a Yiddish trinket, and I realized that I didn't know where that was coming from. Oh, that's what I was going to mention, is when you grow up with comedy from the 80s and 90s, you don't realize how racist you're being until people finally call you out on it. And you say, "Oh, I've just been repeating these words that I heard and they got a laugh in the 80s." And you're like, "Oh, wait, that's not necessarily a good thing. You don't want to just repeat things that got laughs in the 80s, cuz then you're just yeah, you're just discount Richard Pryor at that point, right? Some classic Eddie Murphy jokes, none of which I could repeat right now. Ooh, bad examples. Sam Kinison, here was another interesting role model as I was going from middle school or junior high to high school. Got a little bit of that, and that is the orange peel. Aha, maybe that's a different thing of the fruit flavor. So, okay, this is kind of answering my question. The late addition of orange peel and coriander. So, it is it naturally a banana flavor when you make a wheat ale, banana and cloves, or are they like literally adding it? Well, they didn't say anything about banana and cloves. They said orange peel and coriander. So maybe that's to balance out the weird natural flavor of fermenting wheat blade? No, wheat. What are the seeds on the ends of the wheat? The chaff? Are you fermenting the chaff? That's a I beg your pardon, sir. When you ferment wheat beer, what part of the wheat is it? I spelled wheat wrong both times. When fermenting wheat beer, the wheat malt is used. Wheat malt is made by steeping wheat in cold water, allowing it to germinate, and then drying it. The process breaks down carbohydrates into simple sugars that can be fermented. Well, okay. Steeping wheat. Well, but is it the whole stick? Like, I know what a bit of wheat looks like. So, what part of wheat is in wheat beer? Let's do this. Malted wheat, the grain. So is the grain the top bit? I feel like I'm asking the dumbest questions. This feels like me with most of my internet searches. It always feels like most people, once they've reached the age of, I don't know, 27, they have a pretty good rudimentary grasp of basic concepts. I feel I was ignoring all of that, and I learned no basic concepts whatsoever. In fact, it's the most embarrassing story. The light, my brake light went on in my car a little while back, and it was, the same. You got the handbrake on, so I was like, "Oh, stupid handbrake!" It was up a little bit, or I nudged it, slam, 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 slam. I'm trying to get rid of it. No, the light is not turning off. I went, "Oh, that's odd, really weird." So I drove it, and then at one point, like a little while later, all of a sudden, when I pressed on the brake, I had to press the brake and then press it like another, like 6-8 inches further on the pedal than I normally would in order to get the car to slow down. The car still slowed down. I'm like, I still have brakes, but my brakes are way further beyond where they actually normally are. So I said, okay, that's weird. So my wife's dad is a mechanic. Loves working on cars, knows all this stuff. So I dropped it off at his place. So I'm like, I don't know what to do. And then I borrowed my wife's car to go drive somewhere. What was I doing that day? And then so she messages me. And she says, yeah, luckily it's because I thought, oh, what's going on? And he said, oh, it might be the drum cylinder and this and that. He's saying things that are way. I have learned what brake pads are. I'm there. I'm, oh, okay, well, it might be a brake pad, but it didn't feel like it might have been that. Or I thought maybe it was like power steering and power brakes. Maybe that was giving out. And I think that is what was happening because she sent me back and she said, yeah, he just said it was out or low on brake fluid. And she said, so he added some and now it works fine. And I went, neat. And then I think I followed up with the question that was rattling around in my head at the moment. I said, what's brake fluid? wait, wait, what year is it? Brakes need fluid now? What's going on? So I know nothing. So if there's brake fluid in my orange American wheat ale, I wouldn't be able to tell you. I don't know what part of the wheat gets uh, thrown in with making everything. I mean, I've made a kit of beer, and it came with a bag of the flaked or the malt flakes or something, which I assume is the little grains on the end of the chaff. You know where it sort of spreads out like a really tight like a mace, like a like a medieval weapon, and all the blade, all the tiny little chunks on the end of the mace are in fact instead of serrated bits of steel, they're soft grain, and then those I feel those bits fall off, and then that's what I've got. So I've got a bag of those little wheat chaffs, which are those chaff. Anatomy of wheat. Ha! Here we go. Now we're all pictures. This is more like it. There's the bran. There's the endosperm. And then there's the germ. Anatomy of a wheat kernel. Anatomy of wheat plant. So the spike, stem, the leaves, you don't want any of that. And then, so the spike is the bit that I'm talking about, the mace part, the damaging part of the mace. So the handle of the mace is the stem. I think stem and leaf I can figure out. Spike is new to me. On is very new to me. Spikelet is whoa, wait a minute. There's three? So in a spikelet, so I thought each individual little, I want to say scale on a snake, but no, that's not it. Each individual little bit, like grain, is a spikelet, and it's got a lemma, a floret. Wait, is the floret containing the lemma, the gloom, the anther, and the filament? This is insane. I'm learning way too much, and I know my one listener, anybody listening right now, is probably watching this and sort of saying, "How can you not know what a gloom is? How do you not know what a spikelet is?" And then I get my know-it-all British voice on, which allows me to be racist towards the British. Yeah, yeah, take that, you British, you freaking knowing things people. Why are you so damn smart? There's an accent that you can't place, so I can't possibly be racist. Take that. Orange wheat, Great Roads. Cheers, Rob. Huh. Well, that was interesting. There's almost a sweet flavor up front, like a chocolate. Is it supposed to taste like that? That's very interesting. Is that the coriander? Could be the coriander. Uh, but it's giving off this really weird dark chocolate kind of sweetness to it, or is that the coriander and the orange peel, sort of the sweetness of the citrus of the peel and the spiciness of the coriander? It's still not incredibly hazy. It's ooh. Oh, there's more peel. Okay, okay, peel's in the middle. What? That's very interesting. I'm not quite sure how to feel about that. How to describe it. Hmm. Okay, there's a bit of a peel and a spice, so the coriander's in there. It's just there's none of the wheat, none of the delightful wheat that I was getting out of the Garrison one. But and this is supposed to be the American style ale, so this is theoretically more hop forward. Maybe that's what's going on. Am I getting kind of a hop thing? Uh, take apart wheat for brewing. Easy wheat malting. Okay. Malted wheat. First, get some raw wheat and weigh it out. Hard versions of red and white varieties. Oh. Red wheat and white wheat? What are you talking about? Washing may or may not be needed. Place the washed wheat in a container. But like, are, are we talking about stems? Show signs of sprouting. The wheat should have a small white button or chit on the bottom of the kernel. What is a kernel of wheat? You didn't say anything about kernels of wheat. Kernel? Anatomy of wheat. Is a kernel a spikelet? What is it? Anatomy of a wheat kernel. All right, so that's the kernel. Are there 3 kernels in a spikelet? How many? Oh man. How many kernels of wheat in a spikelet? Huh? The number of kernels in a weak spikelet can vary, but the average is around 2.3. I was right. So there's like usually 3 or between 2 and 3. Oklahoma wheat is 2, 3, 4. Seeds per head is simply the product of the number of seeds per spikelet and the total number of spikelets per head. 8 spikelets to 12 spikelets per head for a total of 20 grains. Estimating wheat grain yield potential. We're learning so much tonight. Learning all about wheat. Now this is totally different from barley. Anatomy of barley grain. What do we have here? I don't think we have spikelets. Do we have spikelets of barley? Is a cereal. Member of the grass family with edible grains. The genome of barley is blah, blah, blah. Barley grain. Anatomy of the barley kernel. So we're still in the kernel side of things, but do we have barley spikelets? Dual parts of the barley spikelet. So each one, and then it's got the lemma, the glooms, the palea, the seed, and the awn, the pericarp. I'm not going to remember any of this. So I guess if you bring it down to, say, corn, you want the individual kernels of corn. You want the kernels of barley. You want the kernels of wheat. You don't want any of this leafy, stemmy garbage on the outside of things, but you also want it to kind of start germinating a little bit. I'm going to take a little bit more time the next time I open up my batch of malt grain when I make my next batch of beer, and that will maybe give me a little bit more information. But it seems like they're kind of broken apart and then re-dried out, so I chuck them in. But it's everything. It's the glooms and the endosperms. What was it? Was it ovaries? No. Lemma, rachis, on, palea, orachala, barley, spike, grain, physical structure, what? Embryo, endosperm, scutellum, barley, scutellum on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. This is not really sitting well. it's got more body to it. It's a more medium body. This is more of a sipping, a good sizable 5.0. It's getting a bit more into the kind of, yes, here we go. Ha, you're a man. I don't want to say. There we go. We're back into sexes, but it's heavy. It's a heavier beer. It sits better. It's not quite as light, and the the wheat flavor's kind of there, but I think it's mostly in. I'm getting the orange. It is like a very subtle orange peeliness. The coriander's definitely in there. They're all extremely smooth, really easy to drink. I This one is probably the closest to what a good wheat beer would be, but it's not my favorite. I really enjoyed this Garrison one. I think because of that more wheatier flavor and a lighter body. This heavier one, maybe it's just because I'm already feeling kind of heavy after the first two, but it the flavor that went along with the heaviness of it didn't doesn't appeal to me. And I'm trying to describe why. The orange peel and the spice, the coriander is up front, and then the rest of it is just medium body. It's just this heavy kind of flavor. It's still it's quite good. I think it's still better. The North one was a little too much cloves with nothing else. This is probably the better mix of the two. This is probably the mix of the two that I like. Could use a bit more of that weedy flavor. The cereally bready, the bready mix, but it's not getting the bready mix. I'm not tasting the hops. I don't think so. It's predominantly a very. I think that's what's getting me kind of freaked out about it. Is it's got a body to it. It tastes like it's got a lot going on, and then when you get it, it's a very subtle orange peel and a very subtle coriander. So you're sort of that's my flavor, and that's what I'm getting. But then you're like, if the flavor's really light but the body's really heavy, it's a confusing tasting beer. I have to give it pretty good points though, because it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. 8.3. Let's say 8.3. 8.3 out of 10 for the Great Roads American or Orange American. Sorry. And I just now realized, why don't we just call it the Donald Trump and call it done. It's perfectly fine. Whatever. How many other Orange Americans can they possibly be talking about? I mean, come on. Snooki's not in the news anymore. Deep cut. Oh, no one talks about Snooki anymore. I wonder what she's doing. Quick. Snooki 2025. It's Snooki's birthday. How old is this weirdo? Happy birthday. Let's see. Can't wait to kill it in 2025 with you and make more memories. How is she still... Really? She was born in 87. So she's 37 years old. Still married to Gianni. She's a little less orange than I feel like she used to look. DJ Polly D. Who are the orangest Americans? Should there be a racial classification known as orange? Oh, we're inventing brand new ways to be racist now. I need to finish this beer and get the heck out of here. Because we are at, it's 9:02, so we made it to a full hour. I mean, I did drink 3 beers, but I did find some things to talk about. Where have we been? That's getting more orangey and more interesting down at the bottom. What did I say, 8.9? No, 8.3. All right, it's an 8.6. 8.6 out of 10. It's pretty good. I just don't like it as much as the other ones. Or especially as... as much as the Grand Prix one. That was tasty. This one is tasty. It just isn't quite as smooth. It's just not quite as good of a mix. It's a bit of an abrupt kind of orange, and then coriander, and then maybe kind of a wheat ale with some cloves and stuff in the back. So it's a bit wild and random. Oh, so Ian, haha, not being here tonight. Not that Ian, the other Ian. And he is in a play starring as a British man with a terrible racist Jewish Yiddish accent. No, he's not. That's where I get it from. But he is probably not going to be available for much of July. In fact, we might not see him or hear from him again for a full month. But we're hoping to go and see his play. If you can get to Quick as a Wink to see Rock of Ages, please wait a few days before you book a ticket, because we're going to buy some first. And then you can go and book your tickets to go see Ian in his play. And also several other friends of mine are in it as well. So get out to Quick as a Wink Theatre down in Windsor, Nova Scotia to check that out. I will keep you informed as to the play that I might be portraying in. It's not the one with the Jewish accent. I managed to organize things and not do the one where I have to have a Jewish accent. Oh, that would make me... Oh, we've been down some roads today. But I want to thank North Brewing, Garrison, Domaine, Grande Prix, and Great Roads Brewing for making these beers that I got to try tonight. And I will be back again next week. Just because Ian's in a play doesn't mean that the show does not go on. I don't know how else to end. The show must go on. But you can check out our podcast and all the podcasty places. You can go see our YouTube page, youtube.com/@drinknsdry. You can find our little shorts on the YouTubes, the Instagrams, and the TikToks. We're pretty much Drink NS Dry all over the places. You go directly to the source at drinkns.unsupervised.beer. And apart from that, we're here every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you next week.